Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Empowerment. My name is Austin Jones. Um, Obviously, the Empowerment Project is a podcast that Katie Reed and I have started where we try to discuss just certain issues that don't necessarily get the time of day that they deserve. For this episode, anxiety is the big topic that we're talking about. Specifically, anxiety in high school students and teenagers and how that can impact their educational journey. So, at this time, I will allow my guests to introduce themselves.
I'm Katie.
I'm Lara.
And I'm Layla.
All right, so I feel like we should just kind of dive straight in. I feel like when I say anxiety, people kind of understand what I'm talking about and what that means. So, to start off the discussion, just to kind of put into perspective for the listeners at home, at what age did each of you realize that you had anxiety or anxiety like symptoms?
I'd probably say like late elementary school, like early middle school.
Kind of the same as Katie for me, but I think I kind of started to realize I had a little bit of anxiety is when I hit middle school. Most definitely when I hit middle school, because it was a like transitioning point for me, like coming from elementary school straight to middle school. A lot of different things. I went to Hobgood. Then after I went to Hobgood, I came to Oakland, and like there's a lot of things that Hobgood we did that other schools didn't do. For example, we had uniforms, so once I got to Oakland, I'm like, wow, I don't have to wear a uniform anymore. And then like it was just a whole different like atmosphere. I really didn't know anybody that went to Oakland after going to Hobgood. Most of my friends, I know back then we had the option like at sixth grade you could stay in elementary school or you could go ahead and just go to middle school. And my mom thought it'd be best for me to just go ahead and go to middle school, and I did too at the time. Like it would have been something new, but probably around that time is when I started to realize I had a few anxiety issues.
For me, I'd say around elementary school, I definitely had some symptoms, but at the time, I didn't know anything. I was like, oh, that's just my regular. Everyone goes through these thought
Yeah.
processes. And then middle school is like, oh, wait, that's just a me thing. Like, that's definitely some anxiety. So, like, I realized middle school, did I go through the symptoms? Yes, like way before that. So, it took a process to figure out, but the symptoms were earlier.
So just to put into perspective, a study that was done says nearly 1 in 3 kids aged 13 to 18 will experience an anxiety disorder. So I feel like it may be kind of a common theme, hearing what you guys said and kind of looking into it, that kids will sort of show symptoms in elementary school but won't necessarily get the diagnosis until middle or high school. It seems like that is kind of a common theme here. So the next question is, it's kind of a very open-ended question. How has anxiety impacted positively or negatively uh, your schooling experience? Because personally, I can't really say I've had much anxiety, so I don't know if there could be a positive way. But I didn't want to appear insensitive to the issue, so that's why it's been left open to positive or negative impact of anxiety.
Well, I feel like for me, school wasn't really like I don't know, school wasn't like terribly hard or anything, so I wasn't ever really anxious about like the work or anything like that because I knew I could do it. It was fine. But I think it was more like having school on top of everything else that I have to do, like a bunch of responsibilities, and that's what made me very anxious, like trying to get it all done, pretty much. I don't know. School didn't really make me anxious. Maybe like some parts of the social aspect, I guess, but I don't know. Like schoolwork didn't make me anxious at all.
For
I think
me, sorry, you
no,
go
you
ahead.
can go, Laura.
Okay. My anxiety, it was a little bit different. When I was transitioning, I'm kind of like Layla here. I was coming into Oakland High School. I didn't know anyone except for like maybe one person that I knew very well. And so I had this anxiety over like what people thought of me and like little things that really didn't mean a whole lot, like, but they would consume my head into making me think it was a bigger deal than it was. So I mean, I'm with Katie, it wasn't like school exactly, it was literally the social aspect of it and the what other people thought of me. That's my anxiety. It's like caring too much or don't not
Yeah.
wanting to disappoint people, so it literally consumes me. And if I do disappoint someone, it just my anxiety just goes off the roof. So like
Yeah.
as far as school, like I said, I hated disappointing people, my new friends I was trying to make, and like I realized that I needed to, it's okay, but that was how it negatively affected me. I was so worried about everyone else that sometimes my mental health definitely went down because of it. But then, I mean, positively, as far as school anxiety, it does help you kind of manage. If I had a lot going on, I would try to like set aside and get everything done so that way my anxiety would stop. So, I mean, it's kind of more negative than positive, but I mean, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I'll have to say, me personally, I think the school aspect and the social aspect really negatively affected me when it came to anxiety. Like, especially when I got to high school, especially when I went ahead and transitioned to ninth grade. Well, not even ninth grade, but a little bit, maybe sophomore year is when it like really hit me like, wow, I might actually have anxiety. I mean, because when I was in middle school, I didn't really struggle a lot with school. I think I really had problems with maybe one class, and it did. I really did kind of struggle in that class, but ended up doing really well. But most definitely. But in middle school, I didn't really think of anxiety. Like, I didn't really have an idea of what anxiety was. So, I mean, I didn't really, I just kind of brushed it off in a way. But once I hit high school, and like I said, once I got to my sophomore year, that's when like school kind of got like challenging for me. And me, school has never been an issue with me, like Katie and Laura were saying, up until that point. And like at that point, at sophomore year, I realized that like, gosh, like this is hard now. Like, I never really struggled with school until then, and that's when I just felt like I was like, drowning, like kind of like drowning and suffering, not only with schoolwork, but like my that social aspect as well, as you guys were saying. Like, something Laura really said that kind of like I can really relate to is when she was saying that she when she came to Oakland, she was kind of like anxious about how she would seem to people, and and she was really self conscious about that. And I really really relate to that, even to this day now. Like, when I go out to like certain places that I'm not familiar with, and or like say I'm like with my friends and I'm going somewhere I don't really know a lot of people, maybe one or two. I get really really anxious to like wow, what do they think of me, or maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe I should be quiet the entire time so they don't really have much to think about me for. And that's an issue. That really is an issue. I mean, um, I don't know. It's just kind of hard to kind of pinpoint like what exactly all made me as anxious as I was. And I still think about that to this day. Like, now that I'm graduated, I just kind of, you know, um, recollect and kind of go back and like, wow, like, why was I so anxious? Or maybe, I don't know. It's just, I personally, I'm just really self-conscious about myself. And I know sometimes I just have to tell myself to just like relax, Layla. It's okay. It's all right. You don't have to think about stuff like this. But I can't really think of any positive ways that anxiety impacted me throughout, my schooling experience. But it really did negatively impact me to a really kind of large extent. And I think that's one thing that we need to bring awareness to, like, to these upcoming, maybe middle schoolers, and those at that transitioning point, to make it a little bit better. Because like you said, Austin, you pointed out a trend in just us three. I know it's just us three that said that. We started to realize that we had those issues around the time, like late middle school, or I mean late elementary school, beginning well late I can't speak beginning elementary school and late middle, oh my gosh, I can't speak, late elementary school and beginning middle school. That's when us three began to solve those issues. And I think maybe if we could, somehow, or if there could be a way that we could, kind of spread awareness to kids around that age so they know, like, hey, this is what's going on. And if you're having this issue, like, just talk to somebody about it, or, talk to someone, and it could help them a little bit better, just to better their schooling experience. But yeah.
I
I
think for
totally
me,
agree because like I didn't know that what I was feeling was not normal. I thought
Hmm.
everyone. So I mean there are some things that I look back at and I'm like I really should have talked to someone about that because
Yeah.
I was overly anxious about this one little thing. Like I remember this is I'm going to sound so dumb, but this is my anxiety for you. So actually ninth grade when no sorry sophomore year when we got our like parking passes or whatever
Oh yeah.
I I my parking spot was like near where the buses came in and out and I was in my head like freaking out like what if I can't get out because of the buses, like how can I get there and get out, literally the smallest things that make like there's clearly a way in and out, like the smallest things like consume my head. And it did it way back when I was in elementary school about like I don't know, a pencil or something. Like just these small things that
Yeah.
don't matter at all would consume me. And so I hate that the kids probably don't know that you don't need to
Yeah.
consume
That
yourself
could,
over
yeah.
those small things like and it really it brings like a toll on you. You like I don't know, I started to get like super like you said sometimes I was like maybe if I just didn't talk it'd be better so that way I wouldn't like annoy anyone with my
Hmm.
problems. So I just wish that kids knew, like you said.
I think for me, it really started like eighth grade. Cause okay, like I went to middle school at this one place for sixth and seventh, and then I transferred to Oakland eighth grade year.
Hmm.
So like it wasn't like normally switching to middle school, like that didn't really cause me anxiety, but like having to move to a completely new middle school, like over halfway through. So like I'm finishing out middle school like somewhere completely new, not like starting out high school or anything like that. I don't know. That's when my anxiety started because I did not know anybody at Oakland. Like maybe a couple people, but not really well. Like I wasn't friends with anybody there. Um, I don't know. I feel like that's when it started usually. Like, and moving to Oakland was hard because I don't know. A lot of the people were very judgmental
Yeah.
and they just were not nice to me at all. And like I just remember like having anxiety attacks like at lunch because I'm like, I don't know these people. Like they're not being mean or they're being mean to me. Like I don't know. I think that's when it started, and that's when I started caring what other people thought about me.
So, it's funny that you guys like talk about having these attack or like a panic attack or an anxiety attack at school and like not really feeling, not really knowing where to go, kind of,
That's, yeah.
not really knowing anybody there, and that's just adding to the anxiety. So that brings me to my next question. When you eventually did, and this may only happened once you got to high school. That's typically where you see this. Did you find your teachers to be understanding or accepting of what you're going through? So whether that's on a personal level where you're having like a one-on-one with them and just talking to them about your issues, or even like if you're in class and you have an anxiety attack, did you, when you tried to understand or when you tried to explain to your teachers what was going on, did you find them to be understanding or accepting, or did they not really get it?
I think, honestly, I feel like my anxiety was so bad to the point where like I didn't really want to tell my teachers, like it was that bad. So it's like I feel like they weren't gonna understand, or even if I had something, I didn't want them. I felt like they were just gonna belittle my issue, and that's why I didn't really, talk. I was like really, I really just suffered in silence in a way. And I know that sounds like pretty bad, but like now I feel like Well, I will say, I don't know if everybody here had Dr. Masnick. Katie, I don't know if you had Dr. Masnick, but I know,
Yeah.
yeah. Laura, did you have Dr. Masnick?
Yes.
Yeah, you did. Now, I will say Dr. Masnick she's very understanding, but at the same time, she's a psychology teacher. So, I mean, I think she was pretty understanding, but like, um, I don't know, like I mean, not middle school, but through high school, I just didn't talk to my teachers about it. And I guess you could say that's an issue on my end, but I was just kind of I just didn't want to like say anything. I was afraid if I was going to say the wrong thing, once again, I was just afraid I would have said the wrong thing, or maybe they just were not going to understand at all. So, yeah, that's kind of my kind of answer.
Yeah, I don't really tell my teachers. Like, I felt like it wasn't really necessary, I guess. I don't know. I guess I was kind of embarrassed about it. I didn't really want to
Yeah.
tell them. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of weird. Before I realized, like I said, what was going on before I realized, oh, anxiety is what I'm having. My sixth grade teacher, I think, kind of picked it up in me because of like the way I acted in class. Like I was very, like I said, aware of like what I was doing, what people thought of me. I think she like saw that. So she would sometimes after class like pull me aside and like, hey, what's bothering you? And I mean, sometimes it was like the amount of schoolwork or like my grades or something, but then sometimes she'd realize it was something else. So I had a sixth grade teacher who would always check in on me. And that's like the one teacher that has really like tried to help me with my anxiety. I came to high school and there were so many teachers that I could have talked to, but at the same time, like, I didn't want to, as a high schooler going in, not knowing anyone, I didn't want to draw any attention to my anxiety problem. I thought it was just better if I kind of acted like it wasn't a thing. So I didn't talk to teachers about it. Now that I look back, I know some teachers I would definitely talk to and they'd probably understand me. But yeah, high school, it was it was like, I don't want people to think this about me because that's where my anxiety comes from. So I'm just not going to tell anyone. And so I'm sure they would have been accepting, though. Like I said, a bunch of the teachers at Oakland I'm sure have gone through the same problems when they were our age. And so
Hmm.
if we had chosen to speak up about it, Oakland has a lot of those amazing teachers.
Yeah, so I completely understand where y'all are coming from about not, just not like feeling comfortable or not opening up to teachers. I completely get that. So that brings a question to mind that wasn't on the topic list, but I think is relevant to the situation. What were your individual coping mechanisms? Like, how did you guys deal with your anxiety? And I don't want to saying make it go away is obviously a terrible term because it doesn't go away, but kind of like helping battle the, I guess, side effects of anxiety. Like, what do you guys do to cope?
Mm. Um, um,
I would definitely say, okay, for me, I was comfortable talking to my mom about it and about like the things I was going through. So I always talk to my mom because I know she wouldn't judge me and she wouldn't be. So honestly, there were some late night talks with my mom of her like calming me down. And if I had a ton of schoolwork, because I was at one point in my life, I was traveling to Franklin to go to practice. It wouldn't come home till 7 o'clock every single night. And then like games and stuff, it was some late nights and I had tons of homework and I was just overwhelmed. So sometimes I would just need some time to talk to my mom, even though it was already late. So she was like my therapist in a way. Like she really helped me calm down, knew the right things to say. So there was that. But then if I had one in school, I I tried to hide it. Sometimes it took a little trip to the bathroom to kind of calm myself down and get away from everything. But honestly, it's just for me it was taking the time to like step away. I know I have all this going on, but like I'm clearly having anxiety attacks, so I just need to step away and like gain my breath. I would always get short of breath sometimes. So that's a thing I didn't realize till later that sometimes it's okay to step away from your work or whoever's bothering you. Like you have to in order to get over it.
I don't know. My whole family, or like my mom and my brother, have always had anxiety. Like my brother was diagnosed with anxiety when I was like in sixth grade, I think. Um, and my mom's always had it. So like she could just kind of tell when I was getting anxious. Like it was never like me talking to her about it. Like she could just immediately tell, and she's like, "Okay, take a break. Like stop. You need to take a minute." So I mean, she always kind of understood. My brother though, I don't know. He's oblivious to everybody else. So I mean, he didn't help too much, but like I guess seeing that like early on helped in some way. I don't know.
I will say listening to music really helped me. I think listening to music just really helped me like kind of calm down and kind of like tell my like I don't really know how to explain it. Um, I guess when I listen to music, I mean I just love listening to music and I just feel like sometimes when I listen to certain songs like the world stops for me. So when I guess like when maybe I was struggling a little bit with school or maybe I was somewhere that I wasn't familiar with, if I had like my headphones on me, I just like kind of listen to music a little bit. Or like say, even if I didn't have my headphones, I would kind of like try to go somewhere quiet for maybe a couple of minutes, like and just kind of like Laura said, maybe the bathroom, and just kind of like slow myself down and try to deep breathe, just kind of I don't know, just you know calm myself down and get myself together before I go back out there or wherever I am. Deep breaths, and that's basically how I kind of did it. Especially when school, like when Laura was saying, just kind of go to the bathroom and sit in there for a little bit and then come back out.
Yeah, I don't know. I For me talking really helped me. And I know it's kind of hard too, but it it really helps because somebody can either
Yeah,
give you advice on how to get through it or they're just there to be like this is okay. Like you're going to get through it.
yeah.
Like hearing those words of like confirmation that it's really okay and that life does go on, like this is going to be funny when you think about it because a lot of mine were funny. I was like, why did I freak out over that? But like, I don't know. I really suggest to anyone who is like, you need to talk to someone. Even if you are scared, like find someone you know won't judge you, like a parent
Yeah.
or just a friend. Like it really does help.
I think talking would be probably one of the best ways. And I think we that's another thing that needs to be said to like maybe upcoming children like that are going to that transition point or high school through high school, middle school or whatever. I think if we kind of push like more on the topic of maybe talking to somebody about it, it would make them feel a lot better, maybe a little bit better. And I will honestly say like maybe like in middle school, elementary school, there's not really a lot said about mental health because I guess it's not one of those things that they think, especially in elementary school, that kids kind of think about. But they might not think about it, but they might already have signs. Because I guess that's how I was, like, excuse me, in middle school. Because I know in elementary school I wasn't really kind of you know, but I know in middle school that's when it started to happen for me. So if we could just like kind of educate more on like um, mental health about especially about anxiety and just let kids know that if this is you, you have someone to talk to or here's some coping mechanisms. And I think that would, like I said earlier, improve their schooling experience like a lot more, especially if we had teachers that a lot of more teachers that understood as well instead of kind of just brushing it off.
Yeah, that actually kind of segues really well into the next point, and the next point is just an open-ended question. Do you feel the school system has a good response plan for
Oh
students that
yeah.
have anxiety? And if not, what do you think could be done to improve the response plan? And so when I say response plan, that can mean a lot of things. That can mean how a school will react when a student starts having an anxiety attack. It can mean mental health resources for students that may have anxiety or anxiety like symptoms but aren't necessarily going through an attack. Just what does a response plan mean to you, and do you think school systems have a good one?
If someone in school was having like an anxiety attack, I saw some teachers who were like, okay, everyone do this so I can go talk to them. So, like, I've seen that before, but then I've also seen if someone's having an anxiety attack, like, them just completely ignore it and be like, oh, they're just let them go through it
Yeah.
and stuff. So, I mean, I've seen both responses, I guess, from an individual teacher. But I completely agree with what Laila said. Like I said, I wish I had known back in middle school when I was really going through it. I wish I had known that, or somebody could have said, this is what's happening. Here's how to, I guess, here's some ways to cope. It won't completely go away, but here's some things you can do because I would have been using them before high school and
Yeah. Um, like I was saying earlier, maybe it'd be really awesome if we had a lot more teachers that were educated on like things like this. Which I'm not saying that there aren't teachers out there that are, but it would most definitely help if like teachers went through. I don't know, maybe I don't know if they do, but if they went through like maybe like a really in depth course about maybe mental health, not even regarding anxiety, maybe like like or how to detect like early stages of depression or anything like that. But I think one thing schools could do is maybe kind of like implement some type of like safe space for kids that are like maybe one day a kid's in class and he has like a panic attack or anxiety attack. Instead of like we were saying, most kids just result to go into the bathroom. Maybe a kid could maybe go to this safe space. And I mean, I'm not sure how that would kind of, work. And, there's probably be some underlying issues there. But I do think if kids knew that there was a certain place they could go in order, like, if they were truly having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, I think that would, make them probably feel a little bit better.
yeah, I agree. But then there's also that part where some people would say like, oh, they're doing it for attention.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Like
that's
there's
what
a
the underlying, yeah,
like,
issues.
oh, she's going there for attention.
Or like you have some kids that will just kind of like just maybe fake it and just cheat,
Yeah,
get out of class.
yeah.
But
I mean, that's like again, like what I said. My big part of my anxiety was what people thought, and so like I
yeah,
was scared to go anywhere. But if we made that normal, like
yeah,
to have a safe place, I think it'd be great. And I mean, we have counselors and people at school, but I mean, sometimes I could see them being like, "Oh, she's just here to."
yeah, get out of class.
Yeah, there were a couple of counselors, honestly. Like, okay, Laura and Austin know this, and I know this because we were guidance counselors. I don't know if you know this, Layla, but
Mhm.
like, there were a couple of counselors. Like, kids would come in like regularly. Like, obviously they had problems. Like, they needed help, and they would just like roll their eyes and be like, oh, "Not this person again." And it's like, they might need your help. Like, there's
Seriously,
probably a good reason why they're coming up here. Like, I feel like that's, I don't know. I don't think that's right because you literally went to college for this, and like that's part of your job to help
hmm
students through like anxiety or whatever they're feeling, and for you to just, I don't know, it makes me mad.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
will say, oh,
go
well,
ahead,
you
Cleo.
about to say something? Oh, I know in the episode last night, Austin, we were talking about how some kids, especially inner city kids, sometimes sometimes their only escape is school. Like when they go home, like they might not have like a good, family life or like a good household. So, and that's one thing I feel like another reason why teachers need to be heavily educated on maybe like mental health, because school could be really the only time that that kid has. And how terrible is it if maybe they wake up, don't like being at home at all, and they come home and they kind of experience the same thing, and then they have to go back home. So it's like that kid never really gets a break. Like you never, like that kid never really gets to have, I don't know. And that's one thing that is always in the back of my mind when it comes to when I think about education and school systems, because there are some kids that truly just do not have a break, whether if it's at school or if it's like at home. And I know um, I'm very, very fortunate and blessed to say that I didn't have that issue. But there might be a lot of kids. There are a lot of kids, however, that you know go through that, and I think that's where I feel like every person or every child should be able to come to school and feel safe. Maybe feel like they could go to the guidance counselors or go to a teacher and be able to talk about certain things if they can't go home and talk about those things. And which is another reason why I think um, teachers should really have a really really in-depth course or class on mental health issues. I don't know if they do or not. I really don't know. But which is another reason, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of going off topic, but I think psychology should like be a class, really, not even just in um I think it should be a course in middle school, not even in high school, because I didn't until I was a junior. But I mean, I guess that's another topic for another day. But yeah.
No, I agree completely. Psychology actually taught me a lot
Yeah.
about why my brain was thinking these things.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's nice. I didn't know that. But I agree with I feel so bad for the kids who can't, like you said, have an escape. So it's like if you can find one person, like one teacher, one friend, one anything to talk to at school, like it would severely help. Just
Most
like
definitely.
one person makes all the difference.
Especially if that one, yeah, exactly. Especially if that one person is the only person they can go to, or like maybe even if I don't know. But school system, I feel like has changed a little bit since we've been in middle school. But most definitely, if there was like a teacher, or maybe another student, or well, not well, yeah, that that kid that doesn't have as many resources could talk to, that would that could really be a pivotal point in their life, and it would really help.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that you guys said, especially the point that Katie brought up. I think it really just and the Layla and Laura, you guys have brought it up too about how when Layla brought up like a safe space, how a drawback to that could be the stigma that well they're just doing it for attention, which
Hmm.
I feel like that in itself is a very damaging stigma that exists not only in students but also in teachers and staff at schools that don't necessarily understand mental health. I feel like there are, I don't want to say a lot, but I feel like there are staff members that work at these public schools that they aren't necessarily hateful or spiteful to the students that suffer from mental health. They just aren't educated on the matter, and so they'll think, oh well, they're just doing this for attention, or oh, like this isn't real. And I think that's a very harmful stigma that makes it hard to kind of speak up about what you're feeling and get the
Right.
help that you need. Because like you guys said, there were a lot of times that you guys didn't even like necessarily feel comfortable enough to talk to your teachers. And so imagine you finally like build up uh, that feeling inside of you to go talk to a teacher or go talk to a staff member, and they kind of laugh in your face about it.
Right.
That's it's very damaging to, especially to a student. Um, so one thing that when I was doing a little bit of research, I actually found out that legally, a parent can request uh, help for their student. They can. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, it allows for a request of appropriate accommodations related to a student's diagnosis. So what I picked up from that is that you know, Laura, I know you mentioned that you and your mom had a very open dialogue about how you felt and issues that you went through. It seems to me that if you would have needed it, she would have been able to go to your school and request that, you have. I don't know what those accommodations would look like, but some sort of accommodations to help with your anxiety which I feel like a lot of parents and students don't know that they can do
Yeah.
that. Like before I researched that last night, I did not know that legally you are allowed to request that. And I feel like education, and it's funny because we're talking about the education system, but educating those within the education system, I feel like is the biggest step that needs to be taken.
Yeah.
Educate students and parents on what they have a right to ask for. Educate teachers and staff on issues that students are going to be dealing with, because these issues aren't going away. And matter of fact, they're only getting worse.
Yeah.
Because like I said, nearly 1 in 3 kids ages 13 through 18 will experience an anxiety disorder, and 41% in 2016, 41% of incoming college freshmen answered yes if when they were asked if they were feeling overwhelmed or pressured to succeed. And the reason I bring that up is for two reasons. One, that was a steady increase from the polling results that they took in 2000. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it was a significant increase in the percentage of yes answers. And it segues into my next point. What outside factors, if any, do you feel uh, have impacted or increased your anxiety? So this can look completely different to everybody. It could be overusage of social media. It could be sports, extracurricular activities such as like clubs, like a student council, key club, things like that. Um, it could be heightened pressure to succeed at school. That's a really big one that we see. We live in a society where everybody expects you to go through
Yeah.
school and get this 4.0 and get these high grades, and but you got to be in all these clubs too, and you got to do well in your outside tests like with the SAT and the ACT. So what kind of outside factors do you feel have impacted your anxiety?
I will most definitely say social media. Most definitely social media. Not like not really on the education part, but I feel like now social media, in my opinion, is very poisonous. It really is. Especially to like younger kids. Like when they see certain stuff, it's like, I mean, outside like I said, outside of like education and school, um, social media has a huge impact on, people and how they think. Because I will always say comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is really the thief of joy because I feel like on social media we see all these, young people that are like, maybe my age making like, millions and cashing out on like high end cars and clothes and houses. And like to me, honestly, I mean, I'm not hating on these people because, it's awesome that they're doing that. But I just want the younger crowd to know that it's all right if you don't reach that point at the age that you are. Like, there's nothing wrong with that because we see a lot of I don't know if you guys see it, but I don't know, I just feel like a lot of people see due to social media. I think like a lot of people see, feel like they're in competition with another person when it really shouldn't be that way. Like I feel like life happens at a pace, a different pace for everyone, and I don't know. That just puts, I guess, like seeing certain stuff on social media puts a lot of pressure on people. Like, you have to look a certain way, you have to do a certain thing in order to, be accepted into society. Or like, and I just feel like that's terrible. It's so bad. Like I said, especially for younger kids that are now kind of like, like the younger generation, they're now like on iPads. Like everything is on an iPad now. Like me personally, I have a little cousin and he's 7, and literally everything that he does, he's always on his iPad. Always had his headphones on with his iPad, and I mean it's cool to an extent, but I really really hope and pray that he doesn't see anything that makes him think like since they're doing it, or this means I have to be this way. Like I have to do this because they're doing it, and it shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way at all. And I just honestly feel like social media is very fake, and unrealistic. And like I said, to relate back to like anxiety, um, like like I said earlier, it just puts a lot of pressure on people. It's saying like it makes I guess it makes some people anxious. Like I said, they have to be or look and act a certain way in order to and it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't have to alter parts of yourself or yourself as a whole in order to, feel accepted.
I think a good way to describe anxiety is you're always worrying about something bad happening.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really matter what it is. Some people worry about other things more than I don't know, like, Laura, you said that you have anxiety, like, when it comes to what people think about you. Some people might have anxiety about, like, succeeding or whatever.
Mhm.
I think it really just depends on the person and what you have anxiety about. It really anything could trigger you. Like, it doesn't matter, like, something, like, you go to the store and something happens with another, customer there and it just sets you off, or, like, it really doesn't matter, like, as long as it's feeding into, like, your worry about, like, "Oh my god, something bad's gonna happen," like, "Oh my god, this person's gonna hate me," or, like, "I'm not gonna be good enough," or whatever, like, it really doesn't matter what it is, it just anything could set you off pretty much.
With the
Mhm.
social media, what Chloe was saying, you also see on social media, you see a lot of fakeness. Like, not everything you see is real, but also you see a lot of bullying, I guess, in a way. Like, you see a
Mhm.
lot of people judging another person, or even in person, they'll like pull up a picture, be like, "Did you see this?" And so it's like, it makes you wonder, like, crap, what's being said about me?
Yeah.
Like,
Most definitely.
your life is out there too, and I mean, of course, it's by choice, but I'm just saying, like, what are other people saying about me? Why it just like that was a big thing for me. I was at one point so scared to even post on social media because of I was so terrified of what people would say or like what people would think of me. So I mean social media just in that aspect, like people are so judgmental and will eat you up if you don't
Yeah.
have a certain, I guess, body shape or a certain whatever it is. So I mean social media, I mean, it's a huge anxiety causer. Like I at some points I'm like, I wish I just never even started it, you
Oh,
know?
definitely. Yeah.
My mental health would be a lot better. So I mean, definitely social media. Another outside one is I like I care what people think, but also it's the disappointing people. I've always been a busy person. I have um I was like a student athlete, so I had to deal with like a bunch of stuff being layered on top of it. And I people would ask me to do certain things. I was like, oh, I can't. I have to do this and this and this. But I hated the fact that I had to disappoint
That you.
that person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've always or like even when it came to clubs, like somebody would be like, hey, can you be the committee or the cheerleader of this committee or something? And I literally couldn't. But then because I was so scared to say no, I ended up putting another thing on my plate, which I really did not have time for, which ended up causing me more anxiety, more stress,
Mhm.
more fear of disappointing people. If I didn't um, do it right or didn't get it done in time, what would they think of me? I mean, all the things. It's anxiety, like Katie said, comes from so many different things. And it could be something small, like I said about my parking spot, or just little things that you're worried will go wrong and what people will think of you because of it. So I mean, it's a mix of everything. It's a mix of life, like just everything.
I most definitely agree with you, Laura, and you too, Katie. But I will say that I guess my anxiety has gotten better. I mean, since I graduated, because like you were saying, Laura, like I was always very, very like conscious about like what people would think about me, and I was always scared of doing the wrong thing. Like when it came to high school, even if it meant like wearing my hair a different way one day, or deciding to dress a little bit different one day, like it made me like so like anxious about like
Yo,
if I do this, like I wonder what they're saying about me, or I wonder if they don't like this. And I had to learn, and I'm still learning till this day, that it's okay, it's all right. I don't like, this is my life basically, nobody else is living this life but me. And that's when like I'm so glad I graduated, like because after I graduated, probably like a couple of days later, I was just reflecting on how much like it just feels like a breath of fresh air, because you don't have to worry about stuff like that anymore. Not saying that like when I go to college I won't be a little bit nervous, but I honestly feel like, since it's like, I don't know, I told myself personally that once I get to college I'm going to try my best not to be as self conscious as I was when I was in high school or in middle school or whatever. But and that's one thing that I want other people to, like, anybody like listening to the podcast, I want like the audience to know that it's okay. It's all right. I mean, it's all right to, be yourself. It's okay. You shouldn't really, not saying that your anxiety is based on what, what people might think about you or being scared, but I know that's how mine was. And if yours is the same way, then I just want you to know. I know it's easier said than done, but it's all right. And you just have to remember, like, honestly, who is, like, how do you know this? How do you know that people are saying about this? Who's telling you this? You see them, like, it's
It's in
just
your
one of those
head.
things. Yeah, it's all in your head. Basically, it's all in your head. I promise you, it is. And I will say that I've gotten a little bit better. Like I said, a little bit better about not worrying about what people say or think. But it really is a struggle. It really is, and it's something that I wish no one had to go through. I wish nobody had to, like, sit up at night wondering why they weren't good enough or what they could do to change about them, because there's nothing wrong with them. I feel like everyone is perfect in their own way. And yeah, I just wish we could get that message out a little bit harder to those younger than us. And then even the people older than us. There are people older than us, or, a little bit older, that still struggle, or that struggle with anxiety. And I just want, I just feel like there needs to be more awareness about anxiety somehow.
I feel like for me, my anxiety definitely got better junior and senior year. Like, I definitely stopped caring what other people thought about me as much. Like, I used to be scared to dress a certain way, like, dress how I wanted to. But, like, senior year, like, I definitely did that. Like, I didn't care anymore. Um, I don't know. I just felt like it got a lot better. Like, I'm definitely more outgoing now. But I think part of my anxiety is like giving myself too many responsibilities to take care of in like a single day, and it would just drive me crazy. Like, I would worry about getting everything done. Um, so like there was the social anxiety part, and then like worrying about that. Like once school got out, like all of senior year, I struggled with acne like really bad. Like
Hmm.
it was awful. But as soon as we got out of school, like in March, my acne would start going away like immediately. It was so crazy because I wasn't like worried about having to get all these things done in one day. Like, um, I had school and then I had work, and but like I had chores too, and I have dogs to take care of, and then like I'd pick Nolan up from school. So I mean, I was just filling my day up way too much, and then that like it was hard for me to sleep and stuff. So I mean, once I like calmed down a little bit, it definitely got a lot better. So I don't know. I Giving yourself a break definitely helps.
I'm the same way. I think back and I'm like, I signed myself up for so many things from the fear of, like I said, disappointing people, that didn't have time. Like, physically, I could not do that many things in one day. I was like, why did I do that to myself? But like Laila and Kaity said, it comes with time. Like, through time, you start to realize, or even you just realize how to cope with it a little bit better, and you learn how to manage it. It's As you grow up, you
Hmm.
learn it doesn't matter what people think. Even if that is your anxiety, you're kind of in the back of your head is telling you, like, it's okay, which I didn't hear before, like junior and senior year. So it's like your head definitely like changes, and you grow, and it may be a new anxiety that pops up, but like you start to um, adapt to the new thinking. It's like, it's okay. You're going to get through it. I may have a lot of things on my plate, but one thing at a time. Just as you get older, it does get better. And so I hope that other people know that too. Like, it won't go away, but it definitely hasn't consumed my life as much as it did back then. Like, I'm not as scared to go out anymore and meet new people. I'm actually for that. I love doing that now. But back then I definitely wasn't. So it does get better.
In all reality, like for me, I just kind of realized like I personally don't care what other people are wearing. I don't care what their hair looks like. I don't care if they're wearing makeup or not. Like I genuinely don't care. Like I'm not gonna nitpick somebody's appearance or whatever.
Hmm.
So I feel like for me that just kind of made me realize like nobody really cares. Like, and if they're gonna like take time out of their day to comment on your parents, like obviously they have other issues going on. Like nobody actually cares.
And
They really don't.
what really helped my anxiety was finding people who did support you and that were
Yeah,
your hype men and that did not care if you had a pimple on your face somewhere. Like people who were genuinely there to help with your anxiety, I guess. That's really find a group of people that won't judge you and that'll support you.
that's a really good point, Laura. That's a really good point. Trying to like, find friend or like finding friends that, honestly don't really care about little stuff like that. They just love you for you. That's like really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, it really helped me in high school once I found the group of people or just even friends in each of my classes that I knew I could go to and they like have the best time with. It immediately my anxiety did go down from that.
Yeah. Having friends that also understand your anxiety, that's a key point there as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I know, so Katie and I, we had guidance aid together senior year. So, um, and guidance aid, for those that aren't familiar, it's either two or three guidance aides that just help in the office or whatever. But there's a lot of like, there's a lot of free time, so there's a lot of talking. So I know Katie and I would routinely like talk about our mental health and how we were doing, and when she would talk about her anxiety, she kind of mentioned earlier that she was so stressed out that it was like kind of hard for her to sleep at night. And I was just wondering if you guys had any other, I guess, symptoms like that, like
Like
if your mind wouldn't stop racing and it would make it hard to sleep or things like that.
Um, this one's gonna sound like kind of weird, but I sweat a lot. So that's when, like, when I get anxious about things, I start to sweat, and my heart beat raises. I will say that's one key thing in me. Now, losing sleep, it just depends on what the situation was. That's when that would kick in for me. But I immediately started to notice I was anxious when like I would start to like sweat or like I'd get cold sweats a little bit or like I just my chest would like go up and down like really fast.
Yeah, my heart would just I don't know, feel like it was going out of my chest. I
Yeah.
would it's honestly kind of scary too. I was like whoa, hold on, but
Yeah.
yeah, I my heart would race. Sometimes it would bring me to tears about like I can't because there's things I couldn't control. So I mean, of course I was like crying over things I couldn't help and I couldn't change. And so like if I did have, I don't know, a presentation the next day and I was super stressed out about, super anxious about like getting up in front of people, I would lose a lot of sleep. And then like the next morning I'd wake up and I'd be like, crap, today's the day. And then
Yeah.
just it would for me it was more like it consumed my brain. I couldn't think about anything else. If my friend was like, hey, come do this with me, I'd be like, hold on, I can't schedule anything. Like I just literally I couldn't think about anything else. And like if it was the last period of the day, that was the worst because I go through the whole day so focused on that. And so I mean for me it was just I couldn't I couldn't do anything. It just consumed my brain.
For me, my anxiety is a lot better, but like eighth grade, like when it started, like I don't know if y'all have ever had like a panic or anxiety attack, but like it's very scary. Um, like okay, it can be different for anybody really, but like for me, it was like I would start shaking, my hands would, and like breathing would be hard, or like sometimes it's just like you want to cry, but it's like I don't want to
Yeah.
cry in front of these people though. Like I'm at school, like that's embarrassing. I don't know. It's just a very scary thing. Like there's a lot of physical components with anxiety. I feel like
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah. It just like and sometimes I would be so anxious and then as soon as I was done with the attack or after the anxiety attack it would literally like drain my body of energy because I used so much of my energy to worry about something that after the fact I was so tired. I didn't want to do anything else because I just used every ounce of me to worry about something I didn't really need to. So, I mean, it's physically draining too.
Yeah, that's what personally like throughout middle school and high school, I can't really say that I feel like there's a difference that between having anxiety and feeling anxious about things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a difference that sometimes people don't respect that difference, and so I think that kind of plays into kind of the stigma around anxiety. So personally, throughout middle school and high school, like I've had moments where I have felt anxious, but I wouldn't say that I've had anxiety. Because like I've never had like a full on panic attack or an anxiety attack or anything like that. Um, but I've been around a lot of people that have, so I kind of understand like what that may look like, or just be able to. I don't want to say help because I kind of feel like when somebody's going through an anxiety attack, like there are a lot of things that you can do that you think would help that won't necessarily help. Like, honestly, it does depend on the individual person. Um, but I do want to say that this has been kind of eye opening because, like I said, I haven't personally been through these things. So to be able to kind of hear the experiences and hear the stories, it has been very nice, and it kind of just for me personally reaffirms what I felt, that educating is the biggest step here as far as I guess combating anxiety, for lack of better terms. Um, if you educate people that don't know on what anxiety does look like, and what can cause it and what you can do to help, I think that's when you start to move into a more safe environment, I guess, for lack of better words. um, I want to thank all three of you for coming on here and talking about your personal experiences and things that you've gone through. I very much appreciate you guys opening up and sharing your stories. Um, is there anything else that anybody else would like to add?
Other than to thank you for letting us come on here and talk about it, because, like we said, I really feel that if you have these problems, to talk to someone, or
Yeah.
hopefully more people are educated, so it's less of a, she wants attention, and more of it's, let's figure this out. So thank you for opening this up to us.
Yeah. Austin, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was another episode of Empowerment.